Sony struck back at Microsoft this week with their own purchase of Bungie, the Destiny 2 developer. Now, this is unusual in the fact that they very unequivocally came out and said there will be no exclusives when it comes to this. No one wants Destiny 2 to go exclusive. We want things to be on their own platforms. And then they came out and said, we're actually looking to expand more into other platforms, which is exactly what Bungie will be doing. Not just focusing on live service platforms, which is obviously a speciality of Bungie, but moving on into platforms where Sony isn't already there. This is no longer about getting more users onto PlayStation, but more about acquiring new users elsewhere. Now, this is interesting because it moves the focus away from Bungie and the IPs that they hold onto the staff and the personnel themselves. They're after the expertise rather than the IPs. And that's why Sony is actually spending $1.2 billion of the 3.6 acquisition price on the staff themselves. This is a lot of money, coming down to the fact that if you just take the staff and divide it equally across everybody, it's actually $1 million per head. Now, obviously, this won't be evenly shared as it comes down to the stocks which are held within the company themselves, so this will be very top-heavy. But even if 80% goes to the people at the top, a 200 grand bonus isn't anything to be sniffed at. Now, as these bonuses will be paid out over the course of several years, because Sony is interested in a sort of long-term vision for Bungie, this has been described by some people as golden handcuffs. But let's be honest, if you're getting paid an extra couple of $100,000 a year just to stay at the company you already work at and do the job you're already doing, then I think we can all imagine worse handcuffs to have. But when explaining in a report why Sony purchased Bungie and their plan for the future, they said, we view the deployment of our game IP on multiple platforms as a major growth opportunity for Sony, as has been evidenced by the success of the PC versions of God of War and other first-party games. Through this acquisition, we intend to acquire new users and increase engagement on platforms other than PlayStation, which will enable us to significantly advance our long-term growth strategy for further expanding the ecosystem of our games business. We are now moving past the days of the console war. Microsoft were the first people to actually go for this by expanding Game Pass onto PC, and now Sony has seen their success and wants to replicate that themselves. They've realized that it's far easier and far more profitable to actually put your game onto platforms such as PC and just get one user to buy the game than it is to get them to buy an entire new console. And not only is it easier, it's more profitable. Software has always been where the money is. It's just taken the console wars a long time to realize it. For many years, I've been saying I don't know why these companies are shooting themselves in the foot by not putting their games onto PC, but finally, we're moving past it, and this, I think, benefits everybody involved. Rockstar this week, for the first time, confirmed that they are working on GTA 6. Now, admittedly, they didn't actually show much of it, but they said with the unprecedented longevity of GTA 5, we know that many of you have been asking us about a new entry into the Grand Theft Auto series. With every new project we embark on, our goal is to always significantly move beyond what we have previously delivered, and we are pleased to confirm that active development for the next entry in Grand Theft Auto series is well underway. We look forward to sharing more as soon as we are ready. And that was it. Short and sweet. And after this many years of GTA 5, I kind of expected some kind of bigger announcement. GTA 5 for me has been so long in the tooth that I'm amazed anyone still plays the game, but it still has a lot of fans and they're spending a lot of money on it, so I've always understood why they didn't want to make a sequel. But as they have changed their mind, it does make me wonder exactly why. Did they just get to a point where the development couldn't be delayed any longer and they just finally had to put out another game? Or if the player numbers and the actual sales of GTA 5 finally decreased after so many years to a point where it was just unsustainable? I guess I'll never get an answer to that question, but it would be interesting to find out just so I get some kind of idea of Rockstar's priorities in life. Now, despite me enjoying Battlefield 2042, many other people had very good reasons not to, including the bugs, the stability performance, and the fact that some people just couldn't play it, especially on console. And one of the greatest letdowns about Battlefield 2042 has and always will remain EA. Sometimes when they say something, you're just like, even though I like the game, what are you doing, folks? And this wasn't more obvious than in the company's Q3 earnings call, where he said that this has always been an ambitious game. Developing this game with our teams working from home for nearly 2 years ultimately proved to be challenging. That's an understatement, isn't it? Through our process of testing and preparation, we believed the experience was ready to be put in players' hands. We launched with strong stability. Again, very questionable. However, as more players experienced the full game, it became clear the unanticipated performance issues that we would need to address. Even though I didn't experience them myself, there's so many people saying it, you can't just go, oh, this is fabricated. People definitely had issues. And you just like, well, our test showed it was fine. They showed it was fine. Must have been fine. No, you can't just stick your head in the sand and ignore this. And on top of that, they can't catch a break in the actual updates themselves. Even making a scoreboard has been delayed at this point. Not only was the game delayed, with the release without a scoreboard, no, now that's been delayed till March. You've got the first update, Season 1, has now been delayed till summer. This game is an absolutely astronomical mess. And you have the nerve to go on an earnings call and go, oh, well, no, I mean, it was fine. It all looked fine. It looked stable and everything else. It was a few unanticipated issues. Look, I can understand going into a shareholder meeting and trying to present the best image to them to try and keep your share price as high as possible. But come on, just openly lying to them all when all evidence and articles point to the contrary. Really, how gullible do you think they are, EA? Although EA might be showing a bit of sense in that same earnings call when they decided to backtrack on NFTs. Previously, the CEO had called them the future of our industry. However, on the investors call, he says that right now, it's not something we're driving hard on. EA, at least, is avoiding the NFT space. Unlike Ubisoft, who decided to double or triple down at this point, I'm really losing track. Ubisoft started with their Ghost Recon Breakpoint NFTs, then moved on to start insulting the customer base by going, yeah, the backlash against NFTs, it's just because they don't understand. They just don't understand. They don't get it. As if that was their fault rather than Ubisoft for explaining it poorly. But when Ubisoft is on a roll of mistake after mistake, not just annoying their customer base, but their own staff, hey, why not do it all over again, right? This is why now Ubisoft has decided that they're going to compliment their staff by giving them all a gift of free NFTs as well. Yes, when your own staff don't like them, the clear thing that you should do is give them one. So now they're offering their staff a Ghost Recon 20th anniversary cap. That'll be useful. And telling them if they want to receive this exclusive digit, we will inject it into your crypto wallet on the 9th of March. And obviously, you know NFTs are the future when Ubisoft have to rebrand them as digits just because the name NFT at this point is so toxic. I don't know. Does anybody want it? I'm not really sure. And while personally I think there are some advantages if they were implemented properly in the future, there's far too many opportunities for them to be exploited just to be microtransactions all over again. I think it will be up to gamers to push back every single time it's implemented in a way that doesn't benefit us. But my message to Ubisoft would be, read the room. When even EA is backing off from this topic because it's just too toxic to touch, maybe you shouldn't just be steamrolling ahead at full speed as if you're the one that's going to lead the industry to some new paradise of monetization. Activision Blizzard's quarterly investment call has confirmed that Infinity Ward is now going to be taking the lead on Call of Duty, saying that development on this year's premium and Warzone experiences is being led by Activision's renowned Infinity Ward studio. The team is working on the most ambitious plan in franchise history, with industry-leading innovation and a broadly appealing franchise setting. This setting is rumored to be a sequel to the 2019 Modern Warfare reboot, and Infinity Ward themselves posted a tweet which said, "A new generation of Call of Duty is coming soon. Stay frosty." Now, obviously, this is the kind of message that Call of Duty say every year. Every year is new with innovation. It's the biggest one ever. You're going to enjoy it all. So I'm not getting too excited until we actually get to see what they're working on. But if they do manage to actually put some new hype into the franchise, that would be very interesting. Vanguard sales figures haven't exactly been stellar, and the Call of Duty franchise has been losing sales figure year on year. But it could be due to a change, at least if you trust Infinity Ward. Now, I really liked Vanguard's multiplayer, and I thought the single player was pretty terrible. And Warzone, well, that ran into issue after the Pacific integration, which honestly, you changed a map. How can you make so many things go wrong? Add into that the fact that Ricochet really hasn't done much for this cheating problem, and Infinity Ward has its work cut out for it. If 2019 Modern Warfare put some life back into the franchise, hey, who knows, maybe it can do it again. This one is something to keep your eye on. But let's be honest, with Call of Duty releasing every year, it's not like it keeps on improving, and most people at this point think, yeah, maybe it just needs more time. Maybe it needs more time in a development cycle just to make sure you get something fresh and exciting rather than the same thing served up to you over and over again with a different skin. So we'll have to wait and see what they come up with, but if they want to improve Call of Duty, there are a lot of places for improvement right now. Star Citizen, the famous vaporware, have decided that this is the week they're going to attack their fans for being frustrated that they haven't actually delivered a game yet. Star Citizen is a game which has been 10 years in the making, with a budget greater than all others, and yet it still hasn't delivered anything. Even its single-player, Squadron 42, which was originally designed to be released in 2015, there's not a single sign of it. As this game is funded by the customers themselves, it's understandable that they wanted the actual developers to be held accountable, to stick to targets, as it's shown previously, that without this, they will just keep making the dates further and further away, and no game will ever get delivered. To aid this, Star Citizen created a public roadmap which had all of the different dates and what they were working on. But now that roadmap is being removed because Star Citizen don't like when the customers complain that they've missed yet another target. And obviously, they decided to attack the customers on the way out. They've said it's become abundantly clear to us that despite our best efforts to communicate the fluidity of development and how features marked as tentative should not be relied upon, the general focus of our most passionate players has continued to lead them to interpret anything in the release view as a promise. There remains a very loud contingent of roadmap watchers who see projections as promises, and their continued noise every time we shift deliverables has become a distraction both internally at CIG and within our community, as well as to prospective Star Citizen's fans watching from the sidelines. Quite frankly, I think this is unacceptable. I'm sorry if after 10 years, your customers are upset at you that you haven't delivered a game. But maybe you should understand that they've committed money to something and they want something delivered. And if you don't meet it, then they're justified in being frustrated with you. And I'm sorry if their noise, their justified complaint that you can't even hit your own targets is distracting you from not putting out a game. Or worse, maybe a lesson to the people watching Star Citizen from the sidelines that they shouldn't put their money into your black hole of a game, which at this point looks like it's never going to be released. But honestly, for a game that solely relies on customer donations, I'm amazed that you will come out and openly attack them just in the hope they shut up so that you can get more money from people that don't know what you're doing. Of all of the times that I've seen a games development company attack the customers, telling them to shut up so that you can fundraise more money for a game that it looks like you're not going to release is definitely a new one, and probably one of the most malicious reasons for doing it that I've seen. And so yes, while I can understand a tentative release date on a roadmap is something that shouldn't be treated as a promise, after 10 years, your customer's patience is 0. And so I don't actually think you deserve any more rope at this point. And if you don't like it, there's one easy fix. You can release the game. Meta or Facebook have launched their new VR feature, a 4-foot zone that no one can cross, to include personal space in virtual reality. Honestly, I am not a fan of collision mechanics in any FPS as it is, because there's always some moron that's standing in a doorway and you just can't get past. So now, obviously, the thing we need to do is add that into VR as well. 4 foot of space just because someone doesn't like your pixels getting near their pixels. Honestly, the entire idea just seems completely moronic to me, but this is Facebook. Why change their habit of a lifetime? I don't think it takes very long to realize the problems of this and how it'll never actually work. Also, why it's not exactly necessary. But this is one of those problems that have been created out of the ether by games journalists and blue checkmarks on Twitter, and so obviously it needed to be addressed with immediate concern. Now, I've always been a big fan of VR. I think the technology itself is amazing, and I think the opportunity for games is astronomical. But if it's going to be controlled by Facebook doing things like that, then I've got to be honest, it really puts a dampener on my excitement for the future. Warner Bros. Suicide Squad game had quite a lot of marketing push behind it, and yet, from what I saw, not that many people seemed interested in it, and that's probably for the best, because now it's getting delayed until 2023. Well, I thought the trailers looked interesting. One thing we never saw was any gameplay at all, and a lot of people had some justifiable complaints by the power levels of the superheroes involved. Let's face it, Harley Quinn isn't exactly going to beat Superman, is she? Now, we have many examples of what happens to games when you release them when they should have been delayed, so a delay for the game is probably good overall. But I do have to question why you put so much money into releasing all of the marketing for it if you knew you were never actually going to hit the release date. But for now, that's it from me. Let me know what you thought of any of the topics down in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to keep up to date with all of the gaming news in the future. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.